Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. Let's talk about the Major Richard Starr Act. It seems as though we continuously talk about it. For the majority of people, we strongly agree with it, whether it impacts us directly or not. I personally, and look, everybody's allowed their own view. It's the beauty of it. I personally agree with the Major Richard Starr Act. It is, in my mind, no way considered double dipping, which is what they like to call it. Retirement is retirement. Medical retirement is retirement. If it wasn't retirement, it would just be a medical separation. Okay. These individuals were medically retired. The key word retired, not just medically separated, medically retired. And retirement is a different benefit than disability compensation. Otherwise, no retirees would be receiving disability compensation. Simple. So especially when we're talking about the 50% and up in order to collect both. So that's really what I'm talking about, is the 50% disability compensation rating so you can receive concurrent benefits. So let's jump into it. I just pulled up some information to just kind of give an overview of where we are, what we're talking about, and all of that. So with that, let's jump into it. All right. As of late 2025, the Major Richard Starr Act has been reintroduced in the 119th Congress, but is currently stalled. The bipartisan legislation would end the offset that reduces the earned retirement pay of a combat injured veteran who were medically retired with fewer than 20 years of service. Okay, so this is the medically retired with less than 20 years of service. Again, the DOD found them to be retirable, right? So giving them retirement. Just to put it in contrast here, in order to get concurrent retirement disability pay, CRDP, in order to get that, you have to have had at least 20 years of service, retired, right? Retired with 20 years of service. And you must have a VA disability rating of 50% or greater. Okay, so that is the two big aspects, 20 years of service retired and 50 years or greater. 50% or greater of a disability compensation. So all of a sudden, you're at year 16 and something happens to you and the military decides to medically retire you. Obviously, your whole life was geared towards service and pushing toward a retirement. But they cut that short and they retire you with less than 20 years. Well, because of that less than 20 years, now all of a sudden you have to have your retirement pay offset by your VA disability compensation dollar for dollar. So let's just use easy math. Your medical retirement is $2,000 a month. Your VA disability compensation is $2,000 a month. You do not get $4,000, two for retirement, two for VA disability compensation. What you get is $2,000 of retirement goes away and is replaced with $2,000 of tax-free VA disability compensation. So you get $2,000. Meanwhile, a veteran who served 20 years retired and has $2,000 or 50% or higher would, just to use the same numbers, let's say it's $2,000 a month. Whatever. $2,000 a month and $2,000 from VA, they get $4,000 because they made it over the 20-year mark. Both retired, by the way, retired. Keyword, retired. All right, so current legislative status. There's 4 bullet points here. Stalled in Congress. Despite wide bipartisan support in both chambers, that would be the House and the Senate, the bill's progress has been blocked by procedural issues and cost concerns. And to me, and again, this is just me, you're allowed to have your own opinion. Look, this does not impact me in any way. I am not medically retired. It doesn't change my life at all. I see this and I go, it's wrong and it should be fixed. Personally, it's my own view. Cost concerns, in my opinion, are irrelevant when it comes to this specific issue. This is wrong to me on many levels, as we have veterans whose injuries were bad enough to get them medically retired, keyword retired, and then they don't get to enjoy the benefits that they earned fully. These are the ones that typically are giving the most, right? So anyway, let's move on. National Defense Authorization Act. Well, advocates have attempted to attach the STAR Act as an amendment to the annual NDAA, a strategy often used for veterans' benefits. However, those efforts were blocked in both the House and the Senate in 2025. Congressional objections. In 2025, a Republican senator blocked an attempt to advance the bill, citing concerns that it would be too expensive without a clear funding offset. Again, there's certain things from a moral perspective that it doesn't matter if you have an offset or not. You just have to make that happen. And this is for the brave men and women who gave all they could give until the military said, we can't keep you anymore, but you clearly wanted to make this a career, and so we're going to go ahead and medically retire you, right? So here we are. Last one here, widespread support. The act is supported by more than 20 major veteran service organizations and has hundreds of co-sponsors in the House and Senate. The American Legion recently delivered thousands of petitions to Congress in support of the bill. What the Major Richard Starr Act would do. The bill would fix a disparity in how benefits are calculated for military retirees. Current law is currently medically retired veterans with fewer than 20 years of service who receive Department of Veterans Affairs disability pay have their Department of Defense retirement pay reduced dollar for dollar by the amount of their VA compensation. This offset can result in these veterans receiving no retirement pay at all, which is just blows my mind. Proposed change. The Major Richard Starr Act would allow combat disabled veterans with less than 20 years of service to receive both their full retirement pay and their VA disability compensation. No brainer to me. Impacts on veterans. The change would allow affected veterans to collect up to an average of approximately $1,200 more per month. That is, quite frankly, for a lot of people, a life-changing amount of money. I know it doesn't sound like a lot to a lot of people, but that could be the amount of your rent, unless you live in California or Florida or some parts of Texas. Not Dallas, right? New York, those types of places. But there are places where you could go rent a decent place for $1,200. Or let's say it doesn't do that. Let's say that covers your automobile, your cell phone bill, your electricity, that type of stuff. It is a very, very substantial amount for a lot of people, and it would loosen up the belt and allow them to live a much better life. CRSC, which is combat-related special compensation. Qualified veterans could choose to receive either their full benefits under the new law or continue to receive combat-related special compensation if that is more financially advantageous. CRSC payments are tax-free, but may be reduced by other factors. Why the bill is needed. The current law punishes service members who are forced to retire early due to combat-related injuries. 2 bullet points here. Veterans who serve at least 20 years and have a disability rating of 50% or higher are already eligible for full concurrent receipt of both retirement and disability pay, which we talked about. And the other bullet point here is by denying this for those with fewer than 20 years of service, the law penalizes veterans whose careers were cut short by combat-related injuries. Advocacy and resources. To the fight to pass the Major Richard Starr Act continues, with advocates urging Congress to act. Veterans can find resources and support from organizations like the Wounded Warrior Project and the Military Officers Association of America, the MOAA. All right, with that, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.